When you start a new project in Unity, it'll come up with this sample scene. You can make a new scene, File, New Scene. And this basic is probably the best choice. Basic URP, create. It looks the same as the sample scene. I need to do two things. First, save as. So File, Save As. Should be a scenes folder. And give it a better title than this, but the concept is you give it a title and you save it. Okay, then that title shows up here in the hierarchy. For doing 2D work, it is probably best to change the background. So highlight main camera. On the right, go to projection mode and do orthographic. It may already be orthographic. And then you can change the size. If you need more space, you make this a bigger number. If you then scroll down to environment, you can see there's a background type. Skybox may not be useful if you're doing 2D. So I often use solid color. And this, you can change the color to be anything you want. You see here, background color. If you just click it, any color you want. You'll want to add 2D game objects. So if I go to game object, 2D object, it's quite possible you won't have any choices here. So you need to import a package so that you can have access to 2D objects like squares and triangles and circles. So to get access to those 2D tools, go to Window, Package Management, Package Manager. So first of all, if it's on in project, these are all the things you already have. And to get something new, you go to Unity Registry. In this case, you want the 2D. So highlight 2D and simply say install. And then this progress bar should come up after a little while. And it may take a couple of minutes for it to install the new assets. So once it's finished, you can close that window. And now if you go to Game Object, 2D Object, you have lots of choices. So most of the things you will want to use are called sprites. So I'll just start with capsule. And you see it makes a capsule here. If you highlight the capsule, you see there's a sprite renderer. You can change the color. You can change the size with the scale here. And you can also change the actual image. You can also make custom shapes. I'm using Inkscape. Here's some nice arrows. I can export as a PNG. I'm making a new folder in the appropriate project. I'm just calling it images. Maybe I'll do PNG. You can probably use other formats besides PNG, but I like transparent background. PNGs are my favorite format. Arrow right. And export that. So now if I go back to the Unity project, and let's say I want this to be an actual arrow. Here's images, PNG. Okay, so this may happen to you, where you need to set it as the proper type of image. So arrow right is here. Texture type needs to be a sprite. And I always use single for the sprite mode. Multiple may work for you, so if you don't need to change it to single, don't worry about it. And then say apply. When you do that correctly, then you can see this now looks like the image that I actually wanted to save to Unity. So now if I go back to this capsule, sprite now is capsule. I can do it two ways. I can either drag this in, and now it's an arrow. So you can see you can make any shape you want. Now it looks weird all stretched out, so that looks much better. And you can, again, change the color. So I usually make my images white so that I can control the color in Unity. But you could also do some shading, especially if you have an artist, they can shade the original PNG. To control the position of the sprite, you can do it two different ways. One is to use the transform here and its coordinates 4, 3, 32, that's no good. 4, 3, that's coordinates 4 to the right and 3 up. You can control its rotation if you like. It'll be Z rotation since we're in 2 dimensions. And that gives you pretty fine control over what it looks like on screen. The other way is to go to Scene View and find it first. So double click on Capsule, go to 2D View. And if you zoom out, you can see the box is the view seen by the camera. If you click this 4-arrow tool, you can drag it wherever you want. If you go back to the game, you can see how that works. There's also a rotate tool here. I'm not good at this, but you kind of see how it works. Here I put 3 more shapes into Unity PNGs. I think I can highlight all of them and make them all the proper texture type, which is sprite. And these are very simple images, so I'll make them single. Apply. So now I'll add a sprite, game object, 2D object, sprite. Make it a circle, but in reality I'll make it a hexagon. So I can just drag hexagon into the sprite shape. So the alternative to assigning a shape to a sprite, click the circle with the dot to the right now of circle. This gives me a ton of images I don't want to use. So up in the upper right, there's an eyeball. And then we get the ones that you might actually want to use, like hexagon. And you just click it, and there it is. You can color it, same way we did before. Bright yellow, there we go, beautiful. So these you could put on your scene. You can make them the right size, you can make them the right shape, you can put them where you want them. And that's how you build your game board. So here I'll remind you, if you need more space, main camera, size, you have more space. Bigger the number, more space.